this morning I saw the clouds above the building, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Or it looks like a cutout. It's really about being present. It's about being present and taking in where you are, because there's inspiration everywhere. It's just up to you whether you accept it and you let it in.
Don't tell us first.
You gotta draw people out. That's when people don't give themselves the permission to do things sometimes. It's so interesting to me, because this is why it's here. It's for you to walk through and experience this and touch the ribbons and do all these floofy things. And the first time I showed this, only the little kids went crazy and were like running through it. Anyways. Bonjour, my name is Gabrielle Lasporte, and this is my installation, Fluide Connectivité. So when you are in public spaces, how do you deal with the various energies that are about? Do you block them off? Do you accept them and flow with them? Because, it's looking at how we interact as humans. How do you go with the flow? Do you, block it and say, no, I'm not dealing with this? And prime example is if you're at Yonge and Dundas, that is a chaotic mess. So when you walk into the square, do you take it all in? Do you feel overwhelmed? Are you blocking things off? Are you listening? What are you picking up? Are you listening to people? There's the prophet on one side, there's the break dancers and all this music. How do you maneuver that? Because our energies are all intermingling, right? And so how do you take that in? What do you keep and what do you leave? So today we did a workshop which was introducing a little bit of the medium that I work in. So we did a paper batik workshop, and it's just an extension of the work that I do. I work mainly on fabric, but at times I've worked on paper, and it's a great fun way for people to explore the batik resist technique. So as I mentioned to everybody, the resist technique is literally when you take wax and or some other form of resist. So it could be tape, it could be glue, but in this case I'm using wax. So I went a little bit over with the crew as to how it works, and everybody got to have a little bit of fun using paintbrushes to get those little globs of wax down on the paper, as well as the jenting, which is a tool that's from Indonesia, and it's literally like a little wax pen. The amazing thing about wax is that you don't get to tell it what to do. It kind of tells you what to do. And I say that because if you're a control freak, you will not be able to work with wax and do batik, because it will take you places where you're just gonna want to pull out your hair. I've approached it in that I'm being collaborative with the wax. So when I do workshops and I tell people the wax will humble you, it's because you think you're gonna draw something, but the wax will be like, well, no, because I've done portraiture work where I've done the whole face, and then there's a drop of wax that falls right on the face, and there's nothing I can do about it. I just gotta be like, okay. So how we do batik is you gotta be okay with what happens. And I think that's part of the process of flow, because that's my biggest, like, that's the way I approach batik is like, okay, I'm just gonna flow with this. What are we gonna do? How is this gonna go? Where's the wax wanna go? Does it wanna go, okay, you don't wanna go there? Cool, like, let's go this way, you know? And it helps you problem solve and go with it. I'm really big into journaling, so I've actually created my own book. How do you want to feel? What do you want to meditate on? What are you grateful for? How are you going to move your body today? And then there's like a weekly reflection, what worked, what didn't work. And then at the end of the month, you look back and you look forward. So this is like, this is just a snippet of me. Well, my kid is really into anime and was forcing me basically to watch Demon Slayer. If you watch Demon Slayer, like between the scenes, they always show patterns. And so I would always get him to pause and so I could take pictures because I was like, this is really dope. So then I got inspired by like the Japanese wave. And so I created this. So this piece took me like almost a month to do. All these pieces here, I have to dye individually and then seal. And like there's about like probably 8 layers of dyes here. And then all of this like work that's done with my handy dandy tools. They're called gentings. And they're used to dispense wax. So you like dip it in the wax and then you draw. This is actually a symbol from Indonesia. It's called the Kawon pattern, which is one of my favorite patterns from there. And it just signifies like the universe and balance and all this good stuff. So I tested it out to see like what it would look like if I went over an existing batik piece that's already ironed off. Because basically the piece gets covered with wax and then I have to remove the wax, iron it off, and then I get my artwork underneath. So this is like a batik that I created in Indonesia. And then I turned it into a brick pattern. But like the fact that it's created on fabric, you could see the weaving of the fabric, and then it's photographed and blown up, but you could see all those details. Like, I think that's exciting. I want there to be like this brightness and this light when you look at my work. And so I push the color boundaries, and I have kind of muted my palette at times because I think that sometimes commercially you just need to offer that option. But if it was up to me, I would just always keep things like peppy. If the client has a specific idea in mind and then the challenge is like you kind of know that that's not going to work, but the challenge is to create as much of the vision that the client sees and then push it a little bit further so that you give them things that they never thought they knew they needed, which I think is like such a great challenge. So the kind of stuff that is done at Rollout is so vastly different, and the culture as well is like right up my alley in terms of how I approach things. And I'm really big into music, so Rollout is too, and it just is just like this great meshing. As artists, you're celebrated if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And I get bored by that. And I'm like, why can't I do abstract? Why can't I do portraiture? Why can't I do patterns? And why can't everything just feed itself? So that's what I've done. And, Rollout was like, hey, celebrated that because I was referred many times to Rollout. And what I saw was like different. It wasn't the same thing that everybody else was pushing. And I was like, I could fit in here.